Well, as the advisory council that Senator Youssef sits on does its work, the most recent polls show Donald Trump and who Canadians believe can take him on best is affecting the polls. Well, the most recent being from the Angus Reid Institute. That survey, as you can see, showing that under Mark Carney, the Liberals have received a significant boost. For weeks, we've now been watching the party close the gap on Conservatives, but now enjoying a notable lead and looking at a possible fourth term. Well, to talk about this is Shachi Kurl, the president of the Angus Reid Institute. Shachi, always good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
So listen, let's begin with that big number, because these are numbers that we have not seen for a very long time for the Liberal Party. Regionally, where is it that the Liberals are finding this new lift?
It's less of a new lift, Michael, and it's more about clawing back traditional support regions or regions of support that they were able to rely on for a long time. So, Atlantic Canada, for example, has always been solidly red and solidly Liberal up until, say, the last year or so, where we started to see the Conservatives starting initially to eat into Liberal support and then take over Liberal support. And at the end of last year, we were seeing the Conservatives leading in Atlantic Canada. Same thing in British Columbia, same thing in Manitoba, regions that tend to split 2 or 3 ways between the Liberals and the Conservatives and sometimes the NDP, and now are and we're starting to trend more towards the Conservatives and are now kind of coming back to a more competitive situation. And of course, huge lifts for the Liberals in Ontario, massive lift there, and the party continues to do extremely well and lead in Quebec. So you add that to the fact that in urban regions and in urban areas, the Liberals have doubled their votes since last December. That is where a lot of this renewed support is coming from. It's as though a lot of existing voters had walked away and now they're coming on back.
Yeah, so coming on back. And you also, in this survey, you looked into some of the reasons as to why people are coming back. You asked the question about who can handle the issue or issues better. Walk us through what you asked and what you found.
Well, certainly we asked, one of the questions we asked in this survey, and anybody can access the questionnaire online at angusreid.org or get into the detailed data tables if they want to go further. But we asked among the questions, who would be best to handle things like diversifying our trade relationships internationally? Who would be best to deal with Trump? Who would be best to fight back on the tariffs? Also, additionally, who'd be best to protect or manage and grow the economy? Who'd be best on lowering costs and lowering inflation? On almost every number, you see that Mark Carney is seen by our respondents to our polling as better on these issues, a little bit less better on some issues than others, particularly on cost of living and housing affordability. But on the really key issues that Canadians say they're paying attention to the most, Trump, trade, tariffs, they do see Carney as out there and perceived to be better.
Yeah, perceived to be better, as you say. But, just a few months ago, we were noting just how the Liberals were essentially in the basement of Canadian politics. And so we've seen this quick ascent now for the party. How durable is the support?
Durability is a really good and interesting question, Michael. I call it, soft versus hard, or locked in versus still a little bit wishy-washy. Consider this: 2/3 of Conservative voters, and remember, the Conservatives are still at 37%. Yes, they're trailing the Liberals now, but it's not like they were down to where the Liberals were in December at 16%, right? So it's bad, but it's not like terrible. Maybe if you're a Conservative, you do think it's terrible. I would understand that. But nonetheless, when it comes to that Conservative base, 2/3 or 66% of Conservative voters say, look, I am absolutely sure in my choice. There is no way I'm going to change my vote. When we ask the same of Liberal voters, that super locked in committed vote is only about 50%. It's just under at 49%. So, right now the Conservatives are able to hold on to and continuing to hold on to more committed, locked-in voters than the Liberals are. And it's really important to point out, Michael, that so much of this Liberal support is actually coming from NDP supporters who are basically abandoning the NDP and stampeding on over to the Liberals. I want to point out, and I really want to underscore, the Liberals have drawn support from the Conservatives. Remember, the Conservatives were sitting at about 45% at the end of last year. They're down to 37%. So that vote has gone somewhere. It's gone to the Liberals. However, the vast majority of the Liberal surge has been driven by NDPers. The NDP now down to single digits at 9%.
So something to watch out for. And at the very least, Shachi, we're still waiting for the writ to be dropped, but we know this is going to be a race to be watching closely. Thank you for this. Always appreciate the time, Shachi.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.